Okay, class, here we are. This is week 4, our last recorded session, color and production. And I'm going to start off with a critique. Now, I had asked that everybody submit something for critiquing this week, and unfortunately, the only one that really got around to doing it was Adrian Flores. So, Adrian, thank you very much for submitting something. I will give you a critique tonight, and everybody else, I'm very disappointed that you did not send something for me to critique. So without any further ado, I will do a critique of Adrian's work. Oh, and by the way, since I have nothing to critique, what I will do after I get done with Adrian's critique is I will go through a review of some of the important points that we covered over the last 2 weeks. Things that I think some of you might still struggle with, although most of you seem to be doing fairly well with it. Some of you still are struggling a little bit with it, and I'll talk about Adrian's piece. There's a couple of little issues with it. I'm going to do this review tonight of some of the most important things so that hopefully when you do your final submissions, which will ultimately be your business card, your letterhead, and your envelope, and your trifold brochure, you will know how to properly submit everything to me. Okay, so, Adrian, when I look at your piece, I'm looking at the outside. I'm looking at the front, which is over here, front panel, and the back panel, and this is the inset panel. The first thing that I need to point out to you, very, very critical, all of your colors do not bleed. That is a problem. Every color that you have here, this picture, this color bar that you have in the background, even the diver's hands, this photograph, it literally comes right to where that crop mark is. What is supposed to happen is this artwork should be going on the top, the left, and the bottom, not here because it's on the fold, but on the top, left, and bottom, it should be extending 1/8 of an inch further out. That's known as a bleed, 0.125, and there is no bleed being indicated here. I also am not seeing the fold marks indicated up here, which tells me right away, Adrian, that you did not use the template that I supplied you with. The reason I supplied you with that template is so that you would not have to worry about your panel sizes. And it doesn't appear as though you've used that template. So I'm not saying you have to go back and use it now, it's a little late, but the bottom line is this particular piece would fail, would be sent back to you because the printer could not print this properly because there is no bleed indicated for any of these panels. So that's the first thing. The second thing, I'm looking over on your front panel and you have Aqua Excursions Dive Adventures. Well, while it's okay to do that, the logo says Aqua Excursions and you have Aqua Excursions here. So in reality, it's kind of like a double whammy. You don't need both of them. What I would do is I would simply get rid of the Aqua Excursions and turn the logo, Aqua Excursions logo, into my piece, maybe moving it up into this area here so it would read Aqua Excursions and then Dive Adventures beneath that. That would probably work a little bit better. One very important thing I noticed right away is the text box that you have your Aqua Excursions logo in is clipping part of your logo. And it looks like you brought that same logo over here and it's in the same text box and it looks like it's clipping there as well. So that would have to be fixed. Okay? Now, I think you're a little tiny bit closer than I would like you to be with your margins. What is a margin? A margin is space between where you have a fold and where your copy ends. They call that a margin. And it looks to me like, even though I don't think you're actually touching the margins, it seems that you're a little bit closer than I would like you to be. You have enough space in here that I think you could narrow the width of this column of text a little bit, and it would probably be just fine if you did that. I notice in here you've got a little more breathing space. Now again, I know that there's no bleed here, because if you see where my little cursor is parked up there, you can see I'm parked right on the cut mark, and that's where your color ends. Your color should be ending out here, about 1/8 of an inch beyond that, on the left and on the top and on the bottom. And wherever you have something that bleeds off the page, like this photograph bleeds off the page, should be 1/8 of an inch higher. This bleeds off the top of the page. It should be 1/8 of an inch higher. This should be 1/8 of an inch outside to the right. And that should be what you're doing with all of your art or color areas that bleed. Okay, so that's more or less the outside of this. Other than that, I mean, I'm looking at the way you've got your copy laid out. It's not really too bad. I don't have anything, any major objections with any part of it other than what I just went over. So that's your outside 3 panels. I'm going to go to the inside, and the same thing is going on the inside here, Adrian. You have no bleeds. So this guy here should really be bleeding off the top, and it should be bleeding off the left. This should be bleeding off the left. This should be bleeding off the left, and this blue bar that you have running across here should be bleeding off the bottom, and it should be bleeding off the left. Your picture here should be bleeding off the bottom and off the right. So just so I say it one more time, the reason we bleed pictures or color areas is because the printer, when he cuts the piece out of the larger piece of paper, has the potential to make a mistake and cut slightly off. And if he were to cut this thing a little bit off to the left or to the right, well, probably to the left would be more offensive, because then you'd see this little line of white there, okay, because it doesn't bleed. So if he goes off a little bit to the left, you're going to have a little line of white, which is going to make the piece look really not very good. So it is absolutely essential that these pieces of art bleed when you do this. So I hope you understand that, and Adrian, you are not the only person who has done this. There's a number of people in class that have done this as well. There are some people in class that didn't even put the marks outside of it. So that's why I'm going to cover all this again tonight. We're going to talk about this tonight after I get done critiquing Adrian's piece here. I like what you did, the Aqua Excursions Dive Adventure. Find your own paradise in the exotic islands. Enjoy Aqua Excursions Dive Adventure. That's okay. What I think you probably should do, though, is I think you should do something with this line of text right there. Maybe make it italic and maybe make it somewhat lighter, sort of like to make it stand off of the Aqua Excursions Dive Adventure, just to make it a little bit different. As it is right now, it looks very much the same. It doesn't have any separation or any difference. So my thought would be to try first making this line italic and possibly regular weight as opposed to bold, or if this is bold, in fact, try medium or even regular. See what it looks like. You basically want to give it a little differentiation between the two. All right, now the next thing that I want to point out here is I noticed that he has the picture of the clownfish, and I see he has a picture of the manta. What he's done essentially is he's put the bee swimming with mantas in the Socorro Island, and he's got the clownfish in Australia's Barrier Reef right over top of the picture. Now, it works really fine on the swimming with the mantas in the Socorro Islands. However, it really doesn't work very well over top of the clownfish. So you're going to have to figure out some way of mitigating that. Maybe what you do is put that line of text in a black box that's tucked up in the corner up there, something like that maybe, just so that you can read that text. Because as it is right now, You can barely read it. Oh, and by the way, I would also like to see you change the font style on this and this to whatever font style you're using in here. Because again, you have, this is the only thing in here really that's being used. Let me go back to the outside and make sure. Yeah, that's the only thing that you're using in that font style. And it does look kind of silly to have two tiny little things in a different font where everything is in another font. So one of the things that you're going to definitely want to do is see if you can make this read better and go in and change the font on both of these, make it more consistent. All right, now, the way you have this laid out is fine. I don't have a real problem with it. What I do have a problem, though, is the way you basically ragged or flowed your copy. My opinion is that the Aqua Excursions Dive Adventures, Find Your Own Paradise in the Exotic Islands, Enjoy Aqua Excursions Dive Adventures is fine. I think that this here, Dive Resorts and Live on Boards, Remote Fishing Adventure in Australia, Fiji, Tahiti, Bora Bora, Moorea, and the Socorro Islands, I believe that that copy probably should go here. The destinations probably should go here, and the world is full of exotic travel destinations, blah, 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 should probably go over here. That, I think, would be a more logical flow. So I think probably you should consider that as a possibility. Get this text here, over here somehow, get this text over here somehow. You know, and I mean, you could even consider possibly having this text go here and then flow over and finish here, and then you pick up the Dive Resorts and Live on Boards here as well. And then this destination copy could go over here. You got an awful lot of picture here, and although it's a nice picture and it looks really good, I would have no trouble with you know, getting rid of a little bit of that picture to fit that text in over there. So my real recommendation here is that this should be number 1 here. This should be the next here. Destination should be the 3rd here. And that's it. I mean, I don't think you did a bad job with this. I think you made a few mistakes. And again, just so that you understand, Adrian, if this were submitted to a printer, the printer would not be able to accept it. You would not be able to use this. So it is the kind of a thing where you really should, since this is a color and production class, I'm really expecting you to learn these things and to understand these things, because that's what this class is all about. So I very much would like you to fix this and do the amendments to it that I'm asking for. All right? All right, so that's that. And close it. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to come back in here and we're going to take a look at some of the high points of our week. Now, what this last week means for you is that you are going to, as a student, you're going to submit to me your final work. Now, I want to say this one more time. I just got done saying it with Adrian a minute ago. This is a color and production class. So the things that I am mostly looking for, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not looking for you to do lousy design. I want you to do good design. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm really looking for is for you to do the correct procedures for color and production. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the Aqua logo. And if you remember the first week, we came in here and we created a series of colors. These are spot colors, and these are spot colors. And then these guys here, these are the CMYK, or the process colors. And up here, what do I have up here? I have the RGB colors. So this particular logo now has colors that will get us through creating this logo for the web, for a process printing job, and for a spot color job. Okay, so I'm going to click on this, and you can see that right now the spot color is what's highlighted, meaning this is now set up for a spot color. This here, same thing. It's set up for a spot color. This, spot color. So the colors that I have applied to this logo at this moment are for spot colors. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go through the process one more time of how I prepare this artwork to go into a print environment. The choices I have, I'm going to go to the File menu, and I'm going to save as a copy, and I'm going to go to my desktop, because on my desktop I have a folder. Let's see if I can find my folder. Tonight, there we go. It's right there. And I'm going to change this to Aqua Logo Start Copy. I'm going to call this Aqua Logo Spot. Okay, Aqua Logo Spot. Adobe Illustrator, I'm going to change it to, and I think I mentioned this to you, that I could use either Adobe Pdf or Adobe Eps for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by creating this particular one in Adobe Eps. So I click on that and I hit save. It's going to go into tonight, 4/13. Hit save. And I'm going to basically leave everything alone here. The only thing I want to point out to you is that you have this little button here for transparent and opaque. And I want to make sure that you guys understand, by having this transparent selected, you will not see white here. You will see transparency. So if you were to sit this logo over top of a picture or something, this logo would be basically opaque and the background would be transparent. Okay, so that's really all I want you to know about this. And I hit OK, and it writes the EPS format. And then if I come over here and move this down a little bit, on my Tonight, there's Adrian's work, and there's my Aqua Logo Spot, and I spelt this wrong. Let's fix that. There, Aqua Logo Spot EPS, okay? All right, so that's that one. Where's that thing? Where did it go? There we go. Somehow or other, this thing got all small on me. Let's see if I can get this thing resized. Hold on a minute here. There we go. And why does it do that? I don't quite get that. What's it doing? I guess, like, yeah, look at that weirdness. Let me just drag this over here and open this up. I don't know why this is closing in this weird way. There we go. All right. So I just created my spot version of this. So that's for your business card, your envelope, and your letterhead. Now, and again, I mean, you could go in and you could change the colors. I changed the colors, but right now for this demonstration, I'm just sticking with the colors that's on here. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select that yellow, hold down the Shift key and select that yellow, and I'm going to change that yellow over here to the CMYK color. So now that color is no longer a spot color, it's now CMYK. The same thing, I'm going to click on this, and instead of it being a spot color, I'm going to come in here and click on this, and it becomes a Pantone color. So watch, when I click here, you see what's highlighted, and click here, you see what's highlighted, and I click here, and that's what's highlighted. Okay? This is the logo, the way you're going to, and remember, color and production. So this is the logo that you're going to use for your 4-color process job. I'm going to go File, Save as Copy. Once again, go to my desktop. I'm going to find my Tonight folder. Change this thing to where it says, let's make it Aqua Logo Process. Give me a second here. Aqua Logo Process. Okay, and I'm going to change the Adobe Illustrator. This last time I did an EPS. This time I'm going to do a PDF, which, again, you can use a PDF, you can use an EPS. Both of these work fine for this. So I just want you to know that. And I want you to see what it looks like when I do both. So I click on the PDF, and I hit, so see there is another PDF in there. That's Adrian's submission to me. And I hit Save, and my Illustrator Adobe Pdf dialog box comes up, and normally I would change this. I'm just going to leave Illustrator default on this. I'm going to check my marks and bleeds. Notice that I don't have any marks turned on. The reason I don't want any marks turned on for this is because this piece is going to be used inside of another piece. So it will not be printed, and I don't have any crop marks necessary for this because it's not going to be cut out and used by itself. It's actually going to be placed into another document. So just keep that in mind. When you create an Adobe PDF file that's going to be used inside of another document, you do not need your printer's marks. The only time you need your printer's marks is when you are working with something that is in its pretty much final state, and it's going to end up going to the printer, so the printer will have to have certain marks. That's when you use them. When you're working on something that will become a part of something greater, another production, it's going to become a piece of a production, you do not need any marks for that, okay? So I go back to General, and by keeping this thing, preserve Illustrator editing capabilities, what I'm essentially doing is I'm keeping this so that it will be able to be opened up in Adobe Illustrator and somebody could work on it. I generally leave that alone. All right. If I'm told to remove that, I will remove it. All right. I don't usually want to see the PDF after saving, so I close that off. And create Acrobat layers from top level layers. You know, you could just leave that alone. So really, the only thing that I might do is I might remove Optimize for Fast Web View, because I'm not going to be viewing it on the web, and View PDF after saving. So those are the only two that I've actually deselected. The rest of these I leave alone. Save PDF. It writes the PDF. And if I come over here, let's see if I can find my, there we go. Okay, so Aqua, Logo, Process, PDF, Aqua, Logo, Spot, EPS. The Aqua Logo Spot EPS is what we're going to use in our business card. The Aqua Logo Process PDF is what we're going to use in our trifold brochure. Process, because the trifold is a 4-color process job. Spot, because we are using 2 spot colors and a 3rd color for our business card, our envelopes, and our letters. It's really important. This particular step that I just did is one of the very big things about this course. And I want you to understand this, that's what we're doing now. We are understanding how to properly handle the processes of printing or working for the web. That's exactly what this is all about. So this is the color part of it. From this point forward, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be dealing with the printing part of it, okay? So there are those 3. And I'm done with this. So I'm going to move on to my Aqua card start. So here's my Aqua card start. Now I'm not gonna go ahead and rebuild this whole thing. I'm going to probably build, I will build the envelope and the letterhead though, just so that you can see me do that, because I want you to remember how to do that. But I want you to take note here that I have the red line out here. Do you see it? And you see that this color bar across the bottom comes all the way to that red line over there, and it goes all the way to the red line down here, and it goes all the way to the red line right there. That red line is my bleed. And what that does is it allows me to have a little extra color on the outside of where this thing's going to cut. It's going to cut on that black line. So if the printer cuts a little sloppy, it's going to go a little bit to the left there. This means this will probably go a little bit to the right, and you will still have a nice blue bar across the bottom, and it will still look pretty good. That is another reason why you want a little bit of margin around the edges. You don't want this thing here, you don't want this thing, hold on. You don't want this thing here all jammed up against the edge like that, because if the printer accidentally cuts a little bit short in here, you're going to clip off the end of this. So you want some margin, and you want to make sure that you have bleed. I'm going to go edit, undo, move. Okay, and so there's my business card. And that gives you an idea of what I was talking about with Adrian before, the bleed. You are missing this bleed. You do not have that bleed showing on your piece. Anything that is going to go off the page, the only thing that's going to go off this page is that band across the bottom. It's going to go right off the page. So you want that to bleed. Adrian, anything, and this goes for all the other students as well, anything that you're going to have bleed off of any of the edges, you have to have actually 1/8 of an inch beyond, okay? All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is, let's go over to the Swatches panel. I mentioned this to you before. When you open up a new document, all these colors come out. And the problem with this is I know you can see here that my two spot colors are here, but all these other colors kind of get in the way. And if you really want to be professional about things, what you want to do is you want to get rid of all this color. They're very easy to do, by the way. All you're going to do is come to this drop-down menu. You're going to select all unused, and you'll see all of them highlight. This one does not highlight, but I can hold the Shift key down and I can get it. And I think, no, it's not letting me do it. So I'm going to hit the Delete Swatch button. And do I want to delete the swatches? Absolutely, yes. I hit delete, and now they're all gone. So the only thing that's left there is that right there. It's gone, delete it, yes. What that leaves me with, essentially, is it leaves me with the None button, the registration, which is a form of black. You have white, you have black, okay? And then you have your two Pantone colors. So this is the way you want your swatch panel to look. When you are preparing something like this, this is the way you want it to look. This way, whoever looks at this knows that they are dealing with nothing more than three colors, the black and those two process or spot colors, okay? So that's a very important thing. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to create two new artboards. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to create a new artboard, and I'm going to come in, I'm going to create a new artboard. So now I have three artboards here. The first artboard, I'm going to call this, I'll call this one, let's see which one that is. Yeah, okay, this is the business card. Business card. And the second one is going to be the envelope. E-L-O-P-E, envelope. The third one I'm going to call letterhead. Letterhead. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, select the envelope. I'm going to click on the drop-down menu. I'm going to go to Artboard Options. This is the envelope. See, it says the name, envelope. The size of the envelope is 9, what is it? Give me a second here, I got it right here. The size of an envelope is 9.5. 9.5. So all I have to do here is change the width from 3.5 to 9.5. And I do that by just changing the 3.5 to 9.5. 9.5 is equal to 9.5. Okay? And then the height of this is, it's actually 4 1/8. So that would make the height 4.125, 4 1/8. Okay? And I'm going to hit OK. And now I have my card. And I'm going to come over to my third one, which is my letterhead. And I'm going to select it and go Artboard Options. And the letterhead has a width of 8.5. So I'm just going to change 3 to 8. And I'm going to change the height to 11. And I'm going to hit OK. And now I'm going to go View, Fit All in Window. And you see what's happening here? They all kind of run on top of one another. So really, that's not a big deal because you can come in here now and you can choose Rearrange Artboards. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my layout just this way, like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the columns. There's going to be 2 columns. And I'm going to set the spacing to, I'll set to 2 inches. And I'll hit OK. And see, now I get a nice, clean organization of my 3 pieces. Okay? So you see, it's all very simple. And just so that you know, because I had indicated bleed on my business card, the bleed appears on my other 2 pieces. Now, I'm not going to be using the bleed on my other 2 pieces, but since I have it on there, it's certainly not going to hurt to be there. All right, so the business card gets everything. The letterhead, when you create a letterhead, the only thing that you really want on a letterhead is a logo and an address. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the logo. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and I'm going to click on that. and I'm going to go edit copy, and then I'm going to come over to my envelope, and I'm going to go edit paste. And oh, it pasted it down there. So I guess that is my, let me see here. That's my letterhead. Yep, that's my envelope. There we go. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the view menu, and I'm going to show my rulers. Okay, so they're my rulers. And in the upper left-hand corner here, we have the 0 point, which means essentially, if I drag a guide out to that edge right there, the edge of the paper is marked in as 0. So what I'm going to do is, that's a ½ of an inch, or that's a quarter of an inch, I'm sorry. There's a ½ of an inch. I'm going to come over about a quarter of an inch, right about there. And I'm going to do the same thing at the top. I'm going to come down here, and there's a ½ of an inch. So I'm going to come about a quarter of an inch, like that. Yeah, right there, that's good enough. And I'm going to take my Aqua Excursions logo and this, and I'm just going to essentially move this thing up until it reaches about that point right there. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to select this text, and I'm going to delete this stuff right here. All right, so I'm going to go File, Save, and now I have an envelope. I mean, I could do this 101 ways, but the bottom line is this will work. If I wanted to, I can come in here and I can place a nice little rule here, like that. Okay, and I could make that black, the stroke, make it black. And I could make the size of it 0.5. I think 1 is too high, but 0.5 is nice. There, and I could kind of move it over a little bit and get it to where I like it. And there I can go View, Guides, Hide Guides, and there you can see sort of what your envelope is going to look like. Okay, so again, this isn't difficult. It's just really a matter of knowing how to go about doing it. Go to View, Guides, Show Guides, all right, and I'm showing my guides. View, Fit All in Window, right, and now I'm going to come over to my letterhead, okay, and I'm going to go Edit, Paste, and I'm just going to go Paste, okay, there, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come in here, get this guide out of here. I think let's go to the View menu, Guides, and let's unlock the guides. And let's delete that guide, or let's move it. We could actually move it. Let's bring it back up to the 0 point right there. And there is 1 inch, there's a ½ of an inch, there's a quarter of an inch. Okay? And I'm going to come over here to the 0 point, and I'm going to go, there's a ½ an inch, and there is a quarter of an inch. And this, I'm going to take all this information, and I'm going to move that information up to about that point. Okay? And this will get this information on it. I'm going to zoom in so that I could see this. And I guess I could do the same thing with this, where I could come over here and I could create a nice little vertical rule that comes down like that. And I can put a nice black stroke on that, because remember, this is 3-color and we're okay. We're working with 3-color, black and our 2 spot colors. Change that to 0.5 so it's nice. View, Fit Artboard in Window. All right, and now we can take a look at what your letterhead looks like. So again, you know, you want this thing to just be very clean and business looking. I recommend that you choose very standard fonts. Don't go in and do all this fancy, crazy font stuff. It just doesn't really work, and especially when you are working on something which is sort of like corporate in appearance, which a letter set like this generally is. So just very clean. And notice too another thing, that all of my elements, I'm going to go View, Fit All in Window. Notice that all of my elements are essentially the same size. I'm using the same size logo here. I'm using a vertical rule, which is slightly different here. And I'm using the same basic font here in a relatively similar position here. Now, I mean, if I were really going to do this, I would do this a lot neater than I did. I just threw these together very quickly, so I didn't check the measurements on any of this stuff to make sure that they're all consistent. You would actually do that, okay? But I'm just trying to demonstrate, when you think about doing something like this, you don't go and do a whole lot of different options. What you're really trying to do is you're trying to create a standard look. something that makes sense. Oh, and one other very important thing. Notice that the only place that I use that vertical or that horizontal bar of blue is on my business card. I did not use that on my envelope, and I did not use that on my letterhead. I just used it on the business card. The other two are a lot plainer. And that's fine. I mean, they all look like they would work together very well, and that's the whole idea of this. Okay. So the only other thing that I didn't do with this would be to check my check my spelling. So I'd come in here and I'd go Object. Let's go to Type. Let's see here. Where's it? Check spelling. Edit. Check spelling. And Start. And Richard Hyde, that's his name. I'm going to ignore that because that's a correct name. Montaigne Avenue, that is actually a name, so I'm going to ignore that. Mendham, I happen to know is correct. And R Hyde, I'm going to ignore that as well. Aqua.biz, I ignore that. Montaigne Avenue, it's what it's doing is it's checking the others and seeing the same mistakes, so I'm ignoring it. I'm ignoring it. I'm ignoring it. I'm ignoring it, and I'm ignoring it, and I'm ignoring it, and hit done. Now, again, I now know that all of my font, all of my text in here is good to go. All right. And what I'm going to do with this, and what you're going to do with this, is you're going to submit this as an Adobe PDF. You do not have to package this. You don't have to do anything other than submit it to me as an Adobe PDF. So I am now going to go in and I'm going to create the Adobe PDF, and I want you to see just how to go about doing this. It's very important that you do this a very specific way. And here we go. So I'm going to go to the File menu, and I'm going to save a copy. Then I'm going to go to my desktop. I want you to be able to see all this when I get done. So I'm going to go to my Tonight 413, and I'm going to change this to Adobe PDF. And it's going to be Aqua Stationery. Aqua Stationery. Okay, Aqua Stationery. And hit Save. I get my Illustrator or my Adobe PDF dialog box here. I'm going to leave this stuff alone, preserve Illustrator editing capabilities, embed page thumbnails, but this time I want to come over to Marks and Bleeds. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose all printer's marks, but I don't need all these marks. What I need, I don't need the color bars, so I'm going to remove the color bars. This is a Pantone job or a spot job, so I don't need color bars for that. The registration marks I do need because all of my work needs to be registered. Sorry, has registration. The trim marks, I do need the trim marks, so I'm going to have the trim marks. Page information is optional. I can leave that or not leave that, and I'll just leave that. So the only one that you don't need on this particular job is the color bars. Bleeds, use document bleed settings. Well, I just want to point out to you that I have these red lines here. You can see the red lines. So that means that I have in my document established bleed settings. So I check this because I have. Now, if I deselect this, I get these numbers here, which I have to then put the bleed settings in. And you can see I have a link here that I could constrain, or I could choose to not constrain it, which I wouldn't do. But at any rate, I have bleed settings. By clicking here, notice that it puts in 0.125 inch, which tells me that it is going to give me my bleed settings. All these things are important for me to cover, and it's important for you to understand, because now what I'm getting ready to do is I'm getting ready to produce a 3-color PDF that's going to go to my printer. And the printer is going to take this 3-color PDF, and he is going to take it apart into 3 separate color plates and set up a printing press with those 3 color plates and print those parts of the job. So it's absolutely essential that he gets this stuff this way. And I'm going to show you what this looks like in a second. So now I'm going to hit Save PDF, and I'm going to come to my folder and Aqua Stationery PDF. So what I'm going to do is very quickly, I'm going to open up my Adobe Reader and I'm going to come over and get my folder and get this down a little bit. There we go. Oops. Oh boy, hold on. There we go. And I want this. There we go. And I'm going to take my Aqua Stationery and I'm going to drag and drop it into my Adobe Reader. And I'm going to zoom this thing out to 100%. There. So here's what I want you to see. This is critical. This is what your submission to me should look like. You should have your registration marks. These are your registration marks. There should be bleeds that go to your crop lines, and you can see they actually go beyond the crop lines. This is what it should look like. This is what is correct. And if you click here, you can see that not only do I have my business card, but I have my envelope. And even though I don't have any bleeds on this, which is okay because I didn't include any, okay, it still has the area for the bleed in here. And this is still set up to be separated into 3 colors. And here's my letterhead. So this is what your submission should look like for this piece. And it should be in Adobe Pdf, okay? So that is the first and second part of this, to set up your artwork so that this thing is now ready to go to a printer. That's what I want to see. That's what I'm looking for. Remember, this is color and production. What I am mostly concerned with is that I see that you are grasping the concept of setting up this artwork properly to go to a printer, because that's what this is all about, really. Learning how artwork gets prepared properly to go to a printer. We have a 3-color job that we're just working with here right now. We're about to move on to our process job. So I'm now going to drop this down here, and I am going to, so there's what we have done so far. You've got your 2 logos here, EPS and a PDF. The EPS is what we use in the stationery. PDF is what's being used in the trifold, and this is your submission to me. These things here, the spot EPS, the process PDF, I don't really care if you submit them to me or not. You can, you don't have to. What I'm mostly concerned about is this guy right here, Aqua Stationery PDF. That's what I want, and I want to see it correct, because I want you to understand this. I am pretending to be the printer. I am waiting for you to submit a job to me that I quoted you on, and I am going to be producing this job. If you submit the job to me correctly, I will produce the job. If you submit the job to me incorrectly, I will reject the job and notify you that you have to resubmit, and I'll tell you what's wrong with it, which is not the end of the world, because you can fix these things. But the whole point of this is we're here in a class to learn the proper way to make a submission of artwork to a printer. That's what this is really all about. That's what I am trying to teach you, okay? So the next part of this is our InDesign, and give me a second to get this open. Right. Okay, so now we're in my Aqua excursion, and I just want to point out something to you. This is for the benefit of Adrian and anybody else who did not use my template. My Aqua Excursions logo, and believe me when I tell you, my Aqua Excursions logo is not the best thing I ever designed at all. It's just basically a design that shows you how to do this. But the important thing is I used my template. How do I know I used my template? I wrote fold and I made dashed lines on the fold. That's the way this should look. Those lines should be dashed. When a printer sees dashed lines like this, the printer knows that it's not getting cut, it's getting folded. Dashed lines mean fold. That line right there means cut. So the printer knows it's cutting there, it's folding here, and it's folding there. I wrote the word fold for you so that you would understand clearly what the intent of dashed lines is. So we're talking basic production talk right now. This is important for you to understand. This is something which is an essential part of this. Also notice that I have a guide that goes down on the fold. And when I talk about margin areas, look at my copy. You see how much, you see where my fold is? My fold is right there. Can you see how far away from my fold my copy is? All of my copy is that far, about a half an inch, maybe a quarter, I don't know, about a half, three-eighths of an inch to a half an inch away from my fold. So I don't go too close to my folds. My turtle can get a little close to the fold, but that's still not touching the fold. And my copy is well off of my folds. That's what I am looking for. This has got a pretty nice layout. Now on the inside of this thing, let me go to my pages. Here we go. Let me go to my inside. Whoops. And the only thing that I have violating this is my headline and my secondary line. Those lines extend beyond the fold a little bit. The rest of this is well within the confines of my folds, everything. Nothing is violating my folds. I don't want anything to this picture of the manta, he goes across the fold, but that's basically okay. A picture like that, you can do this. But again, you don't do this with type ever. Or you don't want to come close ever. And you don't want to come too close to the edge ever. You want to make sure that there's nice blank space around the outside edge. You want to make sure that there's a good amount of space between your folds and your copy. This is absolutely essential for you to learn. These are just basic rules of designing when you're designing trifolds and things like this. So I want to make sure that I mention this. And the reason I'm taking so much time talking about this is because more than one of you have in fact got your text either butting right up against the folds or even some cases crossing the folds, which is no good. You just can't do it. I mean, it's one thing to cross-fold text like this, but when you have text like this, I mean, you definitely do not want this going across the fold. You know, you don't want that. You don't want that look. You see how it goes across the fold? The fold would hit right there, and it would literally break up that text, and it just doesn't look right. So you don't want to do that. I'm going to go Edit Undo to bring it back. Okay? So I'm not going to keep beating you on this, but I just really want you to get this idea that when you're a designer, you want to make sure that you got breathing space around any area where there's a fold or a potential to cut. Something's going to be cut here, you want to stay away from that. Something's going to be cut up here, you want to stay away from that. Stay away from down here, and there's a fold here, you want to stay away from that fold, okay? This is how it should look. All right, so that's the first part of this. The next part of this is I want to talk a little bit about checking yourself. So when you finally get to the point where you're getting ready to send this to your printer, first thing that you want to do, just like I did in the other one, is spell check it. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go spelling, check spelling. And this will come up, and I actually made a few I made a few errors on purpose. So here, enjoy Aqua excursions, I made a mistake. So I'm going to fix it. Aqua, enjoy Aqua excursions. It's excursions and change. And then I go to the next one. I have schedule, schedule. I spelt it wrong, schedule. Did it on purpose so that I could have something to show you. And I'm going to hit change. And then customers, I spelt that wrong, customers. And I'm going to fix that, change. And Samu. Samu is actually the name of a diving professional. So I'm going to ignore that. I happen to know that. So that's why I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to skip it. And Ridge Mills is an address. So I'm going to leave that because I know that that is correct. Live boards, I have no idea what creative person came up with that. But I checked it with the creative people, and that's what they want. So I'm going to skip that. Scuba Blue is the name. I'm going to leave that alone. It's actually not Scuba Blue. It's Aqua Adventures. So actually what I should do is I should change that to Aqua, Q-U-A, Aqua. Yeah. It didn't let me do it. Let me do it here. Let me just change it. Aqua excursions. Now that's fixed. And I'm going to hit start again. All right, Bora Bora. I think is right. I'm just going to skip that. Moria, I think is correct. Skip that. And A, I'm going to skip that. And my email is just at my email, so I'm going to skip that. Email.com, I'm just going to skip that. And what else we got here? Barbara, skip that. Maria, skip that. Samu, skip that. Ridge Mill, skip that. Live Aboard, skip that. So done. So essentially, the first thing that you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to go in and you're going to want to make sure that you check all of your spelling. Make sure you have no spelling errors. And actually, what's a good idea is before you send, you're going to make this as a PDF. You're also going to package this. I'm going to show you how to properly package this. I'm going to also show you how to create the proper PDF form for this. What I would do with this is I would take my PDF that I create and I would send the PDF over to a proofreader. There would be somebody who would be a proofreader for me, somebody in the company. It could possibly be the writer, or it could be an assistant to the writer. Usually there's somebody who writes this copy. So they would either be doing the actual proofing themselves, or they would have an associate, an assistant, that would help them with the proofreading. But the bottom line is, I wouldn't just take it upon myself to be the only pair of eyes on this. I don't trust myself enough to do that. So what I generally do is I generally have, when I'm working on this, somebody that like maybe one of my clients would agree to have me send it to them first, and they would take a look at it to make sure that all my spelling is correct. When it is, I can then forward it over to my printer. So spelling and errors in this is very important. From a design standpoint, I'm already assuming that we went through the whole design process and everything that I did here visually is okay with the client. So we're at the point now where we're ready to basically take this thing and start producing it and getting it ready to go to a printer. Again, color in production, this is what this is all about. So we got to make sure. Oh, and by the way, just so that you know, we have Pantone color over here. These colors are in Pantone colors. None of these colors are in spot colors. If these were in spot colors, you'd have a different icon over here. So I just want you to know that all these colors are in Pantone color. Okay, and that's a very important thing. So what that means essentially is, if I go to my, let me see if I can scroll up here. This logo up here is my Pantone logo. Now, it is a slightly different logo than the one that I created earlier, but that doesn't matter. Just take my word for it. What I've done here is I've not brought my spot color logo in. I've brought my Pantone color logo in. That's why I went to the trouble of creating my Aqua logo process. That's the one that I would be using in this particular document. And there are the process colors being indicated there, okay? So it's important that you understand that you need to put the right logo in here, okay? All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to save this as an Adobe Pdf. So I'm going to come over here to Export, and I'm going to go to my desktop for week 4. No, I'm actually just where I want to be here. It's going to be, I'm going to change this to, let me get this thing to go to Aqua, A-Q-U-A, Aqua _ F-I-N-A-L, Aqua Final. And this is _ try, okay? Aqua folder, or Aqua Final try. And I'm going to hit save. Adobe Pdf comes up, and what I have basically here is this is going to be high quality print. What I want to do with this one is click on this, come in here, and I have all printers marks. The one thing that I did not do was I did not select crop marks. The reason I did not select crop marks is because I have crop marks that I created. My layout has crop marks. So if I put crop marks in there, then there's going to be the crop marks that are generated by the export PDF and the ones that I have in there. So since I've already got them in there, I've just deselected the crop marks. And you can do the same thing if you use my template. And that's why I wanted you to use my template, so that you can become familiar with what it would be like to work with a template if somebody gives you one. because I think I mentioned to you before that when you create these things, it's always a good idea to have a conversation with your printer to find out if in fact your printer has produced something like this in the past. And if he has produced something like this in the past, perhaps he can offer you a template which will save you actually having to create one. And that's always a good idea. And that's why I submitted it to you. So what I do want to have on here, though, is I want to have my bleed marks, registration marks, color bars, page information. And I also used document bleed settings. I also included a slug area. A slug area, I believe I gave was about 1 inch or 3/4 of an inch. And that's just so that the marks can be placed on the outside of the printed piece. So those are the things that you have to worry about. As far as the compression, output, advanced, and stuff like that, I would leave that alone unless you get some special instructions from your printer. Generally, what we're doing right here in the general area, you're going to produce all the pages. There's only 2. And they're pages. They're not spreads because they're pages. There's a front page and a back with foldings. And then, of course, your marks and bleeds. And I went over the marks. All I used here except the crops, which I'm leaving out because I have crops. Now, if you don't use my template, you're not going to get these fold marks. I created those fold marks. So you're going to see those fold marks come up when I actually produce this PDF. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to hit export. And now I'm going to open up and I'm going to click on and I'm going to find my Aqua. Where did it go? Wait a minute, let's see what happened. Where did it go? Maybe I missed something? Hold on. Let's see here. Let's see, did I jump the gun? Aqua Excursions brochure, no, that's Adrian's. All right, so what happened? Let's go File, let's try it again, Export, Desktop, and it's going to be in Tonight, there we go, Aqua Final Try, and hit Save, yeah, and Marks and Bleeds, yes, we're good, hit Export. Let's see if I get it now, because for some reason it didn't come up. Let's open it up and see. There we go, Aqua Final Try. And if I click on this, move that forward, click and drag and drop that in, there you have it. Okay, so let me just very quickly explain to you what's going on here. I think it's pretty obvious, but I'll explain it to you. My fold and my fold marks, I created them. The creation of a PDF did not. I created them. Okay, that's why they're there, and it shows you where this thing is going to fold, not cut, fold. You have your bleeds, which is here. Those are the indication of where the bleed ends, 1/8 of an inch, and these are your cut marks. This is a grayscale so that you get a sense of how your grays are going to be working, and this is your color bar down here. And of course, you have your registration marks. And if you come over here and click on this, you have both pages. Okay. Now, what's really great about this particular thing is many printers today can work with Adobe Pdf. So that means essentially that you can pretty much send most of your printers a PDF, and the printer can separate right from your Adobe Pdf. So that's a really good thing. It's not like you have to worry about packaging anymore. All right. Packaging is something that you need to know how to do because not every single printer, although pretty much all of them do, most of your printers will be able to do this. So, what's going on with my pen? Hold on, I'm trying to find out why my power's dying. There it is, it's not plugged in. Okay, sorry, my computer wasn't plugged in. As I was saying, the printers, most printers today can handle PDF, and that's very good. So this is generally what you're going to submit to them. However, you're also going to want to submit to them packaged documents if they ask for a packaged document. So this is the next thing that we're going to do, is we're going to take a look at how to package this. All right, so I'm going to close this, and I am going to minimize that, and I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to go File, Package. Okay, now, when we start to package this, what we have here are fonts, links and images, colors and inks, print settings, and external plugins. So I can, if I want, I can come over here, I can click on this, and this tells me all the information that I need to know about the fonts. This one tells me all that I need to know about my images. And I see that I have a problem, which is okay because I basically deliberately made this problem so I could show you how to solve it. Colors and inks. I come in here and I take a look and I see what my colors are. And my print settings and my external plugins, there aren't any being used. So I can look at this, I see here. I want to also point out to you that generally what I do when I package, I just use the summary page, because on the summary page I get fonts and it tells me that there are 6 fonts being used. There are 0 fonts missing, which is good because that means no fonts are missing. Every font is being accounted for. 0 are embedded, which is normal. 0 are incomplete, which is also normal, and 0 are protected. So I'm in good shape. My fonts are fine. I have no problem. This here, though, is very important. Notice that I get the yellow triangle with the exclamation point. That's essentially a warning. It's an alert. It's telling me that there might be something wrong. So let's see what we got. I got links and images. It tells me that there are 8 links found. 0 have been modified, which is a good thing. 0 are missing. That's good. Inaccessible, 0, good. 0 embedded. 2 use RGB color space. Whoa, see that? Look. So we have a problem here, okay? Now again, I deliberately created this problem because I wanted you to understand that when you submit this to your printer, you don't want to submit anything in the wrong color space or color mode, because then the printer is going to have to go in and he's going to have to figure out which one is incorrect in its color mode and make a change, and he's going to charge you for that. And you don't want that. I know it's a small deal, but believe me when I tell you, the printer will charge you if they do this, unless it's your brother-in-law and you've got to deal with them. All right, colors and inks. There are 4 process inks, 0 spot colors. That's what you're looking for right there, because this job is essentially going to be printing as a 4-color process job. There are no spot inks. That's good. If there was 1 spot ink in there, that would have to be on a separate plate, and then it would become, instead of a 4-process job, it would be a 4-process job plus 1, 5 plates, extra money, and you don't want that unless the client has pre-approved that. If the client said to you, we need a specific color for part of our logo or something, and you're going to print that as a 5th color, a spot color, well, that's one thing. But generally, if you're producing a 4-color process job, you do not want any spot inks. You want it to be 4 process inks, period. So see, again, all this is incredibly important. Okay, so now I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, so I have 2 problems here. 2 of my images are not using the right color mode. So what do? I have a choice. I can either continue with my package and I can keep this in mind and I can go in and fix it, or I can hit cancel and go in and fix it. Well, I think what I'm going to do in this particular case is I can show you how flexible this is. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit package. Just keep in mind, guys, that there are 2 RGB color images, 2 incorrect color modes, okay? Let's hit package. Publication must be saved. So yeah, okay, save it. Save it. It is now packaging it. All right, I'm going to get this. Basically, these are some printer's instructions. What I generally do is I generally fill in a few of these things. This is just, I threw some stuff in here to show you some of the things that I would put in. I would definitely put the file name. Who do you want to contact? Well, generally you want to contact me, but there might be somebody else that you want to contact. Whoever you want contacted, that's what you're putting there. If it's a company and you want to put your company name in, that's what you would put, your company name right there. And you would put an address there. You would definitely put a phone number there, and you would definitely put an email right there. And instructions, I wrote some instructions, but in fact, what you would do is you would maybe just put some instructions in there to make sure that the printer knows exactly how you want to see this done. So it really comes down to you making a decision when this comes up in front of you. What do I want to put in there? How much information do I need? How much do I want? And you put that information in. Okay, so once you do that, you hit continue. And what it's going to do is it's going to create a folder. So I'm going to call this Aqua and EXCURSIONS, Aqua Excursions, TRI-FOLD, trifold. And it's going to be on my desktop. And I'm going to come down and I'm going to find my Tonight, open that up, and I'm going to package that here. But before I do that, let me just show you something over here. What this is going to do, what this process essentially does, is it is going to copy the fonts. That means it's going to go into my font library and it's going to essentially extract out copies of the fonts that I'm using in this piece. I'm going to put them in a folder so that when it goes to the printer will have the exact fonts I'm using. Now, most of the time, the printer has this font anyway, but just as a backup, just as a safety measure, it's going to copy the fonts. So the fonts will be in there, and the printer will be able to use those fonts if necessary. It's also going to copy the linked graphics. So all the graphics that are being used are going to be grabbed as well, and they're going to be dragged into this folder in a folder that says images. And when you open them up, you're going to see the images that are being used in my document. Update graphic links in package. Well, what that essentially means, I know it sounds kind of weird the way they write this, but essentially what that's telling you is that it's going to duplicate the document inside of our folder along with the copied fonts in its folder and our linked graphics folder, and it's going to link all of that into those folders so that now you've got a package that contains all the fonts that are being used, all the images, and a document that knows exactly where to find all that stuff. That's what this whole packaging process is about. Now, once I explain all that to you, I hit package, and it is going to give me this warning. The warning essentially tells me that there are restrictions that are being placed on some fonts. The printer is allowed to use the font in this project, but the printer should know not to use the font on any other project than this. Most of the time, these printers know this, and the printers will not use this. I could easily click on this and say, don't show again. I never do that because I teach this class, and it's important for me to explain a little bit about why this warning comes up. It's essentially just a way of limiting your usage of fonts that you don't own. You don't own these fonts, so you can't give them to people and have them use them any way that you want. In this particular case, the printer can get these fonts, they can put it into their system to produce this job, and that's it. So I just basically, I'm going to hit OK to acknowledge that I've seen this. There's my packaging taking place. Okay, and it's saving. And in a second, it'll be done. And there it's done. So now I'm going to close this. Okay? And I'm going to come to my folder. And in my folder, there is my Aqua Excursions trifold. That is the packaged file that was created for me in my packaging process. When I double click it, I have my folder that has the document fonts in it, and there are my document fonts. These are all the fonts that are being used in my document. And if I go back, I click on this, double click, and these are all of my pictures. These are the pictures that are being used in my document. And when I go back again, I click on Scuba Blue Pre-Flight, and I actually need to change the name of this. It's not Scuba Blue. Let me change it to Aqua. I'm going to call it Aqua Trifold. AQUA TRIFOLD, Aqua Trifold. So that's a much better name for it. And I'm going to double click this, and it's going to open this up in Adobe InDesign. Give it a second. There it is. So it looks exactly like the other document because in effect it is the exact it is exactly the same as the other document. It's simply a copy of it. And I have the images and the text all linked from that packaged folder. So now what I want to do is I want to show you, remember we had the problem with the two pictures. So I'm going to show you how I would fix these pictures. So I'm going to basically come in here and get rid of some of these panels, and I'm going to keep the links panel out. Okay, these are the panels that I am going to show you how to work with. So what I want to do now is I want to find out which one of these. I have two of them in there that they're telling me are using RGB instead of CMYK. So I'm not exactly sure which one of them they are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down and I'm going to open up Photoshop. Give it a second. Photoshop's going to open up, because when you are working in photos like this and you have a color mode, an incorrect color mode, what you're going to do is you're going to go into Photoshop and you'll change the color mode in Photoshop. So I'm just going to show you how to do that real quickly. So I'm going to come over, I'm going to get my folder, and I'm going to go to my links, and I'm going to start off with my clownfish. Let's see if it tells me here. Does it tell me CMYK? It doesn't really tell me. All right, so I'm going to try my clownfish. I don't remember exactly which one it is. I think this one is correct, though. We'll find out. Yeah, take a look. See where it says CMYK right up there? Well, so we know that that's not the problem. It's not that one. So I'm going to close that one down and leave it alone. Come back, and I'm going to go to the next one. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to drag it. And that's also CMYK. So we don't have a problem with that. So I don't want to mess with that either. If there's no problem, I don't want to mess with it. I want to fix the problems. This one I think is one of the problems. So I'm going to drag that in. And nope, I'm sorry, CMYK, that's fine. So I'm going to come back, go to the next one here. Sorry, here. Ocean Life, let's try that. Oh, that's not right. Wrong program. Wait a minute, let me get into the right program. There we go. And now let's do it. Drag that one in. CMYK, that one's correct. Okay, so I'm getting a little bit confused because I'm not finding the one that's incorrect. Let's try reef, tip, and turtle. It's got to be these two. See, look at that. So reef.tiff is in RGB. So this is my offender. This is the one that is no good. So what I want to do is I just want to convert this to CMYK. I'm just going to go up to Image, Mode, and I'm going to change it from RGB to CMYK color. And you're about to convert? Yes. And that's it. It's done. See it? And I'm going to close this and save changes, yes. And now I'm going to come over to this and I'm going to click on Turtle Tiff, and I think that's the other offender, RGB. There it is. So that's the offender. Image, Mode, CMYK. This is fine. File save, close, and that is done. And I'm going to close this. And now I have my reef. See, you see my little warnings come up. And if you sit over it, see where it says modify, double click to update. So essentially, it is even telling me that, hey, you've got something that's changed here. You might want to fix that before you continue. So when you do this now, I double click on that, and that one has now been changed in the document. It's done. And I got the one here. I double click on that, and that one's done. And I go File Save, and now my document is actually, I would say, basically perfect. The printer has exactly what he needs to do this job correctly. All the images are in the correct color mode. All the fonts have been packaged. All the links have been reestablished in a document in the folder. The folder is right here. Let me go to the, I guess I shut it by accident. Let's come down and drop that down for a minute and open this up. Yeah, so there you have it, the Aqua Excursions trifold. So what you're going to do is, I think probably the smartest way to do this is to take your Aqua Excursions trifold folder. take your Aqua Final Try PDF and drag that and drop it inside there. And you're going to go to your Aqua Stationery. Actually, you're going to, this is going to be your final. Drag that inside there as well. So now if you open up the Aqua Excursions Trifold, this is what you're going to find in there. You're going to find your Aqua Trifold InDesign, Aqua Trifold PDF, Aqua Stationery PDF. And there you have it. That is what you are going to want to, oh, and by the way, I'll close this so I can get rid of that. There we go. And that right there is what you are going to send to me. However, before you do that, I am going to take that folder and I'm going to click on this and I'm going to send it to compressed zip folder. So what you want to do is you want to take your folder and you want to zip it so that it's much more easy to upload to me, and call it Aqua, AQUA underscore FINAL underscore SUBMISSIONS, and your name and zip, and then you're going to upload it to me, and when I get it, I will open it up and I will check all of your work to make sure that all of your work is correctly done. So that's it, guys. There's nobody here. I really have no way that I can answer any questions for you. I have given you my basic look at what it is that you're going to be doing this week. I will be, for the next couple of days, I will be in the Blackboard room. Tomorrow, which is Tuesday, tomorrow's Tuesday, I will not be there. Wednesday, I will be there from 1 to 4 p.m. Mountain Time. Thursday, I'll be there from 1 to 4 p.m. Mountain Time. And Friday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Friday. And on Saturday, 7 p.m. to 12 p.m. So there is plenty of time. If any of you need to come in and go over any of this, please feel free to come in and see what's going on with me, and I will try to help you any way that I possibly can. Good luck, and thank you very much. Have a good night.